Okay, so now we are starting a new topic, that is nutrition. So what is nutrition? Nutrition, whenever these terms come in our mind, we think like nutrition is whatever we eat from outside. Okay, so that is a true thing. Whatever we eat from outside, we eat food out from outside. Okay, in food we eat protein. In food we eat carbohydrate. Okay, fat. Okay, so these things we get from outside, and this is our food. So this food material helps us to grow and develop. Whatever we eat helps us to grow and develop. Okay, so as our height is increasing, our mental ability is increasing, so food is required for both things, not only for growth of just for our height or organs, but also for our mental ability and our mental growth. So food is also responsible for synthesis of protein. Now what is protein? That though we are eating protein and we are synthesizing protein, so this is something else beyond of our limit, synthesis of protein. Okay, uh, there are two types of protein. I'm just giving you a very brief idea. Okay, there are two types of protein. There are two types of protein. Two types of protein, remember. Okay, one protein type is known as essential, and one type of protein is known as non-essential. Okay, as non-essential protein is protein which is synthesized by our body. Okay, body synthesize this. Okay, and essential proteins, because our body can synthesize by its own, so we don't need to eat them. Body is synthesized by its own. And essential proteins are those protein which we need from outside. Okay, so our body cannot synthesize them and we need this from outside. So this type of protein, that is essential. Okay, so generally we eat some type of protein, and we eat all these materials as our food. Okay, so we eat some type of protein that are essential. Okay, we eat this type of protein from milk and egg and meat, and some type of vegetable provider us this type of protein. So this type of protein, okay, this type of protein non-essential, we don't need them from outside. Okay, but the essential protein, okay, essential protein, we have to eat this protein from outside. And some of the other substances like carbohydrates and fats, okay, also helps us to synthesize some protein. Okay, so as our body is synthesizing some protein, okay, our body is creating some protein on its own. So these carbohydrates and fats are useful, or they helps us to synthesize these proteins. So we have to eat carbohydrate and fat to synthesize protein in our body, and same time we have to take some protein from outside in the form of egg, meat, milk, or on other things. Okay, like pulses, those are very good source of protein. So all these things are useful us to synthesize. So we eat carbohydrates, okay, and we eat fat to synthesize protein by our body, and some protein we directly take from outside in the form of food. So this type of protein, so this is nutrition, and it gives us power to grow, to develop, to maintain our daily life, to maintain our life process. Simple. Food helps us to maintain our life process, whatever life process we need. Okay, running, sleeping, eating, breathing, what, digestion, transport, all over. So now the question comes that from where these food material come. Okay, how do living thing get their food? How do living thing get their food? So the living thing, there are two types of living thing. First living thing are autotrophs, and second type of living things are heterotrophs. So the autotrophs are those organisms which can synthesize their own food. Okay, either in presence of light, either or without light. but they can synthesize their own food. Okay, and heterotrophs are those organisms which are dependent on autotrophs for their food. Okay, so don't think that only autotrophs should be light dependent. There are so many type of organisms, those are not light dependent, they can synthesize their food without light, but the main thing is they can synthesize their own food. So there are some plants, definitely plants need light. Okay, there are some plants they need light, plant need light. Okay, and there are some bacteria, so some bacteria need light and some bacteria doesn't need light. Some need light and some doesn't need light. Okay, so this is autotrophs. So, and these are heterotrophs. So heterotrophs are all the animals, fungi. You have seen this fungi so many times. Okay, mushroom is a type of fungi, so don't confuse fungi are strictly heterotrophs. Sometimes people or student, okay, we get merged with fungi with plant, like we think that fungi is also kind of plant. No, fungi is neither plant nor animal. Remember this, fungi is neither plant and nor animal, because sometimes we think that fungi is also kind of plant. No, it is not, neither plant nor animal. Don't get confused with it. Okay, so right now we are talking about autotrophs. Autotrophs are those organisms which can synthesize their own food either in the presence of light or without light. They are plants, and plants are strictly light dependent. They are strictly light dependent. Okay, and some bacteria. Okay, and these bacteria are strictly not strict on the dependency of light. Either they can synthesize their food in light, and they cannot they can synthesize their food without light. Okay, so autotrophs, we know that how plants or bacteria, those are autotrophs and depend those who can prepare their own food. Okay, so bacteria are two types, light dependent and without light. Okay, so we are not going about without light bacteria, those who are not dependent on light. Okay, because this is very much beyond of our topic. We are just going to learn about autotrophs, those are dependent on light. So there are two type of organism, plant and some of the bacteria. Okay, so we are going to write the equation, and this is very simple equation, don't forget this. This is the equation of photosynthesis, and this photosynthesis, this molecule is formed. We know about this molecule. Okay, this molecule is known as primary plant product. Primary plant product. Okay, and this is also known as glucose. Okay, and any other form which is produced by a plant. Okay, we all are dependent on plant, though you are non-vegetarian, but definitely even though if you are non-vegetarian, you are dependent on plant totally. So these are some simple compounds. Okay, these are very simple. CO2 and H2 are simple thing, and these simple things are converting into complex one, because you know that glucose is comparatively more complex than carbon dioxide and water. We know this. We know this, that carbon dioxide is only having CO2, and water is a very simple thing, and glucose is a complex thing when we compare them with to carbon dioxide and water. So plant goes from simple to complex. Okay, now this process, when we go simple to complex, is not a very simple process. Okay, it needs okay, when we go simple to complex, when we go simple to complex. Okay, so there is this pathway is not very simple when we are making something which is complex. Okay, so this pathway is not simple thing, and it needs, okay, it does needs many type of enzymes. Okay, as you know, it is not very simple process, because we know that by in the formation of this sugar or primary plant product or primary food products, and energy is getting trapped into these in these carbon bonds. Okay, and chlorophyll is utilized in this. So as this energy is getting trapped in this and chlorophyll is utilizing, so this is not a simple process. There are so many enzymes which are involved in this process. So many enzymes, or we can say biocatalyst. What are catalysts? Catalysts are some substances which increases the rate of reaction. So we are converting something simple to complex. Okay, so many enzymes or so many biocatalysts. Those biocatalysts are those things which increase the rate of reaction. So there are so many enzymes and biocatalysts which helps to convert this simple form to complex form, that is our glucose. Okay, so plant convert this glucose to, we know, fat, other forms of glucose or carbohydrate, and protein and starch. Okay, in correct sense, starch is also a form of carbohydrate. Okay, so plant is converting all these things, okay, in starch. So plant produces it food simple to complex, and the simple substances are carbon dioxide and water. Okay, and plant stores its food like in the form of starch. So plant produces glucose and plant produces fat, carbohydrate, starch, protein. Okay, from this food, from this glucose molecule, by adding some other elements we studied on yesterday, that plant adds some amount of nitrogen, phosphorus, sulfur, calcium, magnesium, chlorine, okay, in the formation of fat, carbohydrate, and protein. So even after formation of all these things, even after formation of glucose, even after formation of fat, carbohydrate, and protein, plant stores starch as its reserve food material. So starch is a reserve food material. Okay, reserve food material. Okay, and whenever plant needs something to eat, okay, it will utilize its starch. So this is how plant get its food, and plant gets its food from simple to complex, from carbon dioxide and water to glucose. Okay, this is food material of plant. Okay, and it convert this into starch, and it stores at plant stores starch, and whenever it need food, it utilize this starch. So this is simple to complex, and these are the raw materials. Okay, you can also write sunlight as a raw material, because in photosynthesis sunlight is very essential thing, and sunlight is only responsible for all the conversion. Okay, without sunlight, these simple substances cannot be converted into these complex. So this is simple to complex. Okay, now what about other organisms? Those are totally dependent on plant. We studied this, that there are some other organisms like animals or heterotrophs. Okay, so in our last class we studied that plant is making glucose, and by this glucose plant made fat, plant made protein, plant made carbohydrates. Okay, glucose is a carbohydrate and carbohydrate is a glucose, but there are so many type of glucose. Glucose is sweet in nature, sweet sugar, and we know that when we eating plant, we eat several type of sugars. Okay, guava sugar, banana sugar, mango sugar. Okay, so many types of sugar. Sugar cane sugar. Okay, so these are carbohydrates. They are various type of sweet things. Okay, so starch is also a form of carbohydrate. So we know that we are eating glucose, or we are eating fat, or we are eating protein, or we are eating carbohydrate, or we are eating starch. So whatever you eat, okay, whatever you eat is a complex thing. Whatever you eat is a very complex thing. Okay, we studied this so on last class also, that whatever you eat is made up of, your food is very complex, and your food is generally made up of glucose or fat. Okay, fat is made by glucose, protein is made by glucose, and carbohydrate is made by glucose. Okay, so whatever you eat is very complex, and by use of oxygen, what you intake or inhale, right now you are intaking oxygen. Okay, so we studied this. Whatever you eat is very complex and is a derivative of glucose. That means whatever you eating is having definitely C6H12O6, and it will get breakdown. Whatever you eat, either fat, protein, or carbohydrate, okay, it is having something like C6H12O6. The chemical formula of fat, protein, and carbohydrates are totally different, but the basic ingredient is C6H12O6, because all of them are made up of glucose. So this is a complex thing, and whenever you breathe, okay, whenever this is our food, okay, this is our food we have taken, and we breathe and we take oxygen, inside, and these break down into CO2 and H2O and plus energy. We studied this is known as the reaction of respiration. So this CO2 get exhale outside and we intake oxygen and we exhale CO2. So here we are going from complex to simple. Okay, so in these two reactions, okay, these reactions is used by plant. You are going simple to complex, plants are going, okay, not we. Simple to complex. Okay, this is a very complex thing, and this is primary plant product, and everything in plant which is edible produced by this glucose molecule. Okay, and we eat whatever we eat is having something like glucose, or it is having the formula of C6H12O6. Whatever you eat, fat, protein, whatever you eat, and this oxygen is from outside, from our breathing. Okay, and whatever you eat, you can write here fat, and you can write here protein, and you can write here carbohydrate. Okay, you can write this. Okay, because all of them are having a similar formula. It is fat, protein and carbohydrate does not having the exact formula is like C6H12O6. It is not the exact formula, but they are having something like C, H and O. They are having C, H and O and some other elements like nitrogen, phosphorus, sulfur. Okay, so it is breaking down this into water and carbon dioxide and energy. Okay, so this is the same water. Okay, this is this in this formula. Okay, again when plant use water, this is the same water, and plant use CO2. So plant uses CO2. Okay, we know that plant uses CO2 to convert to make glucose. So this CO2 which is used by plant or which is utilized by plant is the same CO2 which is released by us. Remember that. Okay, the water which is plant using and the carbon dioxide which is plant using to make glucose molecule is the same water and carbon dioxide which is released by us during respiration and energy. You know that this glucose molecule is having bonds like this. Okay, C6, 1 2 3 4 5 6, and this bonds get breakdown. Okay, and it is totally broken down into water and carbon dioxide, and the energy is released. So energy is, right now I'm using my energy. I'm doing two things right now. First of all, I'm doing respiration, and second, I'm doing breathing, both of them. Okay, I'm taking oxygen inside and releasing carbon dioxide outside, and same time I'm making my cellular respiration. Okay, so I'm using my energy, and I'm using my glucose or my fat or my protein or my carbohydrate, whatever I have taken. Okay, so don't think that don't ever think that this carbon dioxide is something else we are releasing, and the carbon dioxide which is utilized by plant is something else. Both of them are same. There is, okay, so definitely we need plant to survive, definitely we need plant to survive, but same time plant need us to survive, because if we don't release this carbon dioxide, from where do they get their carbon dioxide? So same time they also need us, because they need carbon dioxide. Okay, this is the same carbon dioxide. So there are two processes. Okay, one process is simple to complex, and second process is complex to simple. Okay, and this is the mode of nutrition. The nutrition in plant is water and CO2, and though they are taking some other nutrients, we will going to study from soil some nutrients like nitrogen and magnesium and calcium. Okay, so these are two processes. Now I'm moving to this topic. First of all, I will tell you about the nutrition, which are some extra thing which is taken up by plant. So first of all, we eat food. Okay, we eat food, and we eat glucose, or we eat fat, or we eat carbohydrate, or we eat protein. Okay, so all of them are produced by plant, we know this. Okay, so plant stores its food in the form of starch, we know this. Plant store its food in the form of starch, and we store, okay, animals store the food material. Okay, what is the meaning of storing starch? That it is an emergency work, that plant is producing glucose, okay, and it is utilizing glucose, but if there is something, there is problem with plant and it is not able to produce glucose anymore, so it will utilize starch. So starch is something reserve. Okay, and what about us? okay, we are eating this much stuff, okay, and someday we are fasting or someday we are not getting food, okay, so we also store our food material. So plant store their food materials as starch, okay, and it utilize glucose, but it stores its food material for emergency in the form of starch, okay, and we store our food material for emergency while we are fasting, okay, we don't eat anything while fasting, or maybe due to some other circumstances, okay, so in the process of fasting or in the process we are ill and we can't eat any type of food, so for emergency reason we store our food in the form of glycogen. So glycogen is store material, okay, which is utilized by our body when we are not having our food, okay, though if we are fasting, though we are ill, though we are not getting any type of food, so glycogen is utilized. It is our stored and emergency food material, okay, and starch is a stored and emergency food material in plant, and glycogen is a stored and emergency food material in animal, okay. And what about those people who eat so much and don't utilize their glycogen, or don't give any chance their body to utilize glycogen? Those people who eat whole day, entire day, eat, and their glycogen is stored. So these people, those who have so much amount of glycogen, okay, and they never utilize it because they never go under fasting, or they eat whatever they want and whenever they want, so they are having amount of this much food, so they don't need to utilize, their body don't need to utilize this glycogen because they are having food entire day and every time, okay. So those people with having much amount of glycogen in our body, okay, all of them are having very tiny amount of glycogen, I mean a required amount of glycogen in our body stores this, that if we will starve, or if we are in school, or if we are fasting, or if we will get ill, the glycogen is utilized, okay. But some people, they never utilize their glycogen is just store and never utilize this, so these people will suffer from some diseases like diabetes, okay, and fatness, or you can say obesity. So it is important to utilize our glycogen sometimes, so you have to do exercise, you have to do fasting, or it is possible anyhow that do some extra work so that stored food material can be utilized. And if you don't do some extra work, or never go in starvation condition, and you eat whatever you want and whenever you want, so this stored food material never get in utilized, okay, it will not get utilized, and it will store and it will cause problem like diabetes and fatness, that is obesity, okay. So now we are going to learn about photosynthesis, okay. I told you about photosynthesis, and I also told you about some steps of photosynthesis. So these are some steps of photosynthesis, okay. Photosynthesis, we know that photo means light and synthesis production of food, so this is a super common uh, equation, okay. Photosynthesis, okay. So this is the oxygen utilized by us, okay, releases by plant, and this is the carbon dioxide utilized by plant, releases by us, okay, and this is oxygen released by plant and utilizes by us, okay. So first of all, what plant does in doing photosynthesis, it absorbs light by chlorophyll, okay. So in this process we know there is sunlight, okay, and there is something like chlorophyll, okay. So first of all, plant absorb chlorophyll, okay, and plant absorb light, okay. Second, conversion of light energy to chemical energy and splitting of water molecule into hydrogen and oxygen. So in this form, okay, plant first of all absorb energy to work, okay. Everyone needs energy for working, so plant also absorb light, and it utilize this light energy for working. So what plant do, it is CO2 plus H2O, and plant break down this water molecule into uh, hydrogen and oxygen, okay, hydrogen and oxygen, okay. And this hydrogen is get added with this CO2, and it will form C6H12O6, and this oxygen is released, okay. So this hydrogen is getting added with this CO2, okay. and the oxygen, remaining oxygen is getting reduced, and a water molecule is also produced. So reduction of carbon dioxide to carbohydrate. So this carbon dioxide is getting hydrogen, and anything when it is getting hydrogen, how H12? Because it is not balanced. Okay, it is 12, 6 2s are 12. Yeah, hydrogen is 12, 6 2s are 12. CO2 plus 6 H2O gives C6. Okay, you got it? Okay, so this is 6 H2. Okay, 6 into 2 is equals to 12. Okay, so this hydrogen, this water molecule is broken down into H2 and O. On this H2 got added with this CO2, and it will form glucose. So we know that this CO2 is getting reduced. It is reduction because it is getting hydrogen in free. Okay, it is not doing anything, it is getting hydrogen. So this is glucose, and this glucose is produced by a super simple process which is known as reduction. Okay, and how this glucose is produced by, it is the reduction process. So these are the three basic steps which is followed by plant during photosynthesis. First of all, trap light energy. Second, convert this light energy to chemical energy. So plant utilize this light energy. Okay, plant okay, so plant utilize this into breaking down into this. Okay, and same time adding into this. Okay, so this is the utilization of sun energy in two ways. Okay, just first of all break down this water molecule, and second add this hydrogen to this 6 CO2. Okay, okay, so it will convert to C6H12O6. Okay, and H2O, and this oxygen. Okay, this remaining oxygen which is come out after the breaking down of water, it will also get released. Okay, so I wrote this oxygen here because you have to remember that water is also the product of photosynthesis. So these are the three steps of photosynthesis. Okay, but these should not be in sequence. It is not important that they have first plant have to absorb sunlight, and after that it will convert the sunlight into chemical energy. What is the chemical energy that plant is converting? Plant is doing something, that plant is converting this and this sun energy. Okay, this sun energy into this glucose. Okay, so when plant is converting this sun energy in breaking down of this water molecule and conversion of this CO2 into glucose molecule, that is the meaning that plant is converting light energy into chemical energy. Okay, these things are taking place here. So it is not important that they should go one by one. This should be first step, and this should be a second step, and this should be a third step. No, it is not important. For desert plants, okay, desert plant absorb, desert plant don't follow this step one by one. Okay, so they first of all they take up carbon dioxide, because carbon dioxide is very important. So in first step for the desert plant, I'm talking about some desert plants. Okay, they take their they take carbon dioxide first. Okay, they take carbon dioxide in first step, and in night, okay, like other plants, they will start their work in daytime. First of all, just absorb sun energy. Okay, but for desert plant, they start their work in night, and they absorb CO2 from atmosphere in night. So what is the need of start this process differently, or to absorb carbon dioxide in night? Because we know that plant, okay, this is a leaf, and these leaf are having very tiny structures on their surface, and these tiny structures are known as stomata. Okay, so these are stomata. Okay, and these small stomata. Okay, and we will study about stomata in detail. So these stomata are actually opening, or they are actually pores of plant. They are actually pores of plant. Okay, so as in desert condition, we know that in desert condition plant is having scarcity of water, and they are having very much less amount of water. So these pores will, if plant open in daytime, okay, if plant take CO2 by help of stomata. Okay, plant take CO2, okay, by the stomata. Remember what can happen with stomata? First of all, exchange of gases, even exchange of gases. Okay, it means that either it want to take oxygen, okay, plant never takes oxygen, so either plant want to take oxygen or it want to release a plant uptake of oxygen and release of uptake of carbon dioxide and release of oxygen, okay, or release of water molecule. Okay, so all these things can happen with stomata. So in desert condition, we know that generally plants are having scarcity of water, and in daytime, if the stomata open, okay, if the stomata open in daytime, okay, so in this daytime stomata is opening for uptake of CO2. Plants want to start its process, that's why it need carbon dioxide, because it want to do photosynthesis. And in daytime, suppose if the stomata is open, okay, and plant wants to uptake CO2, plant want to take all CO2 via this stomata, they are opening, okay, exchange of gases, CO2, oxygen and water. So despite of having CO2 inside, okay, definitely it is taking CO2 inside, but at same time this stomata releasing water in a huge amount. Okay, so at one time, okay, if plant start taking carbon dioxide in daytime, what happened? Definitely it is taking CO2 uptake, okay, it is taking CO2 because stomata are open, okay, but same time due to heat, because we know that there is heat in daytime, okay, if you compare all 24 hours, we can say that daytime is comparatively more heat time, okay. So these CO2's first two things will occur. First time at CO2 will uptake, but same time there will be loss of water, water will be lost. But this is not our requirement. We just need carbon dioxide, and desert plant cannot survive with the loss of water. So each and every time if plant will open its stomata in daytime to get CO2, it will release a huge amount of water, which is not bearable. Plant can die. Okay. So that's why desert plants open their stomata in night time. So there will be two benefit. Okay. There will be two benefit. The stomata is open. Okay. But this is night time. First of all, it is getting CO2, but same time it is not releasing H2O. There is not release of H2 because this is night time, it is cooler time, there is no evaporation. But what happened with daytime? If stomata is open, okay, it do absorb CO2, but same time it will lose a huge amount of water. Okay, so this condition is not bearable by plant, and it is having a negative point of view. That's why desert plant, okay, for desert plants, they never open their stomata in daytime. They just absorb this carbon dioxide and they open their stomata in night time. Okay, so these are the common steps for photosynthesis for a normal plant, that first of all they start with day and absorb the light energy. But for desert plant, they will never open their stomata in daytime, and the start of the reaction of photosynthesis, the startup occurs at night time. Okay, start at night time. In desert plant, the photosynthesis start at night time, and for other plant is start at daytime. So this is the process. And now okay, this step not take place one after another in desert plant, and desert plant take up carbon dioxide at night time and prepare an intermediate. Okay, intermediate means whatever it is needed to form glucose, so it just uptake CO2 in night time. Okay, and they prepare some intermediate. Okay, and in daytime, okay, in daytime they absorb sunlight in daytime, because absorption of sunlight doesn't need stomata. Okay, absorption of sunlight is occurs by chlorophyll, it doesn't need stomata. Okay, chlorophyll is sufficient for absorption of sunlight, and there is no need of stomata for sunlight absorption. Stomata does only three things. Okay, stomata absorbs CO2, releases O2 and releases H2O, same thing. So there is no relation of stomata and sunlight, remember this. Okay, there is no relation of sunlight and stomata. Okay, so it absorbs sunlight and it absorb plant absorb desert plant absorb carbon dioxide in night time. They make some intermediate means some chemical which is going to be glucose. Okay, and they produce something. Okay, and finally the energy is needed, so they absorb energy sunlight in daytime. When the day come, okay, and it will produce glucose. So this is how they work. Okay, there is entire different processes and different starting. Okay, so now we will study about stomata. Okay, so this is our stomata. Okay, right now